In the unprecedented times of the 2020 pandemic, our country's digital divide became widely exposed, and the effects of increasing economic and digital inequalities became more apparent. As the founder and president of a technology firm, Ed Christmas questioned the reason for this, as well as the underrepresentation of Blacks in the field of technology and entrepreneurship. On this podcast, Ed Christmas talks with guests about what is their why and the road they are on to bring our society to a place of greater economic and digital equality while sharing the good news of those making a difference. Welcome to The Road to Why, presented through the partnership of Cisco and Sology Solutions, a proud member of the African American Cisco partner community.
Welcome back to The Road to Why, a podcast that highlights individuals and organizations that are making a difference and have an impact on our communities, our underserved communities. I am your host, Ed Christmas, and I'm honored to have join me today Mr. Nosa Ehimwenman, CEO and President of BOWA Construction out of Chicago. Welcome, Nosa. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Ed. Thanks for having me on the show.
Hey, thanks for joining the show. I know we met a while back and it's taken some time to get you on the show. But what we'd like to do today, first of all, we keep this real conversation, as I call it.
Yep.
We like to highlight business executives that are building the future for our youth. And I know you've done a lot, your business in the construction industry. So why don't you just take some time and tell everyone who BOWA Construction is, how you came to Dallas, what you guys are doing, and your vision for the company.
Yeah, thank you again, Ed. Thanks for having me on the show. Really excited to be here, be in Dallas, obviously, and our expansion here into the new market. So I founded the organization in 2009. Prior to that, I studied construction management and engineering at Ohio State, or the Ohio State, as we're known.
Unfortunately this year.
Yeah, unfortunately, we couldn't get past Miami this year, but we had a national championship last year. So I studied construction management engineering at Ohio State, got a full track scholarship, was a Big Ten All-American there. That's how I kind of got into the construction space. I worked for a large multinational construction management firm for about 10 years. And during that time there, I just saw an opportunity in the market for a diverse business that really could excel and grow and build capacity. Not in a sense where, not the check the box sort of scenario where you're just on a deal to be on the deal, but really build some sort of capacity. So that was sort of the initial, I would say, interest in starting a construction management company in GC in Chicago. I went back to school and got my MBA. Because I knew how to build. Yeah.
Purdue.
Yeah, Purdue. Yep, I went to Purdue. I knew how to build, but there was all those concepts, those business concepts, financial concepts, quick ratios, retained earnings, those things, balance sheets. They're so critical to building a business that I needed to kind of get that tools in my tool belt, if you will. So I went back and did that. And then I founded the organization in 2009, 2011. My daughter was born. And that's when things were real for me, right? It was sort of an idea, I think I could do this. Then it was kind of like, you gotta go do this because you gotta, the newborn here. And my fiance at the time, my wife now, was, great partner and very supportive of my ideas and sort of the mission and the vision of the initial BOWA Construction. I called my mom and I said, I need a name. And I didn't want to call it Nosa Construction or Ehi Construction because I wanted it to represent something that was bigger than me, bigger than my four walls at home. So I called it BOWA Construction. My mother said, call it BOWA. And BOWA means to build your future. It means to build your community, build your village. In the late 1800s, I was born in the Benin Kingdom. The kingdom was colonized by Great Britain. It was burned down. And our ancestors had to it was a rallying cry, had to rebuild the village. And this is one of the most powerful kingdoms in the world at that time. And during that rebuild, my ancestors were chanting BOWA, BOWA, BOWA. So that's where the name derived from.
Love it.
So again, something that connected me to my ancestors, that was bigger than me, that represented 400 or 500 years of an empire, of our people living, building, and trading and doing all the things that our ancestors did.
Absolutely.
So the name was BOWA Construction. Initially, we started doing work at the University of Chicago Medical Center.
Okay.
Got our first couple projects there. First project was $100,000, lab renovation. Went from there to 200,000, 300,000. This continued bidding work. Our first year of revenue, we did just under $1 million, about $850,000 in revenue.
Right.
It was myself, my Uncle Billy.
Family help.
Family help, man. I always tell people, I'm like, hey, if you need help to start something, man, some of the people that you can trust are right in your house, right in your family, you know. So obviously some family members were like, I don't know what this guy's up to, but some believed in my idea. And we grew from there, we really grew from there. And we're now probably, if not one of the largest construction management firms, African-American owned in the nation.
I love it.
And we've built capacity from doing healthcare, aviation, multifamily. We built high rises in the city of Chicago. We started off on 71st and Stony Island, right on the heart of the south side of Chicago. And I wanted to be there for a number of reasons. I wanted to really plant a flag in a community that's always underinvested. Always left behind in a sense. You go through these communities, there's vacant land, there's it's just so much blight, right? So there was a building that was in a family. Also, the rent was cheap when you're starting out. So I rented a small, 5 by 10 office space there. I was paying $300 a month for rent. Right. And then eventually took over the building, grew, started doing work in and around the entire city. And we kind of coined the term of disruptors. Wanted to disrupt an industry, not hate towards anyone or any other people, but really wanted to create a path for others that look like me, women and all minorities that really could see their organizations following that same path. Because it's a blueprint, right? I got the blueprint.
Flip the script.
Flip the script. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So talk to me about the construction industry. Here in Dallas, and I know you've come here to Dallas a couple of years ago. You see cranes, you see so much happening. What's the outlook for the construction industry?
This market is booming from where we see it. And you look at the markets in and around, the southern part of the country. There's a lot of investment that's going on. There's a lot of bonds that are being, pushed through the DISDs and the different municipalities. I mean, the city of Dallas is undertaking one of the largest projects that they've ever done. Yeah, right. It's the new K. Bailey Hutchinson Convention Center, which is over $3 billion convention center. We're part of that team with AECom Turner. The Trinity Alliance joint venture is part of building and developing that and working with Inspire, working with the city of Dallas on that project. So the future's bright for the city of Dallas. I mean, we're really excited. We talked before we started just how the city and stakeholders and partners have welcomed us into the market. Partners like, Tammy, United Black Contractors, and organizations that are local here that have really allowed us to, you need a GPS, right? When you come into a new market, you can have the greatest idea, you could be the most talented organization, have great people, but you have to have people within a local market that believe in what you're doing, believe in the opportunities that you can create. And it's not just about your organization, but it's about how you can bring in others that have sometimes may not have had the opportunity or the access, right? So we've created joint ventures. Nolan Estes is a school that we pursued. It's 3 African-American owned firms. It's ourselves, BOWA, Postel, and EJ Smith, Eugene, and Jeff, 2 great brothers. And I said, hey, we're going to be coming to the market. Let's team up, and a lot of times across the countries, we're afraid of partnering with each other, right? Some of the the talent within our own communities is phenomenal, right?
Absolutely.
If we sit at a table and just, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? You'd be amazed by the intelligence
what's
and
right in front
of us, right? So we came together and we're building a $100 million school right in the heart of downtown Dallas, and across the street from City Hall, and the convention center is just right around the corner from there.
So back to the welcoming, I think also the vision, it's welcoming because they want fresh ideas. And shout out to Tammy and Tammy Pierce with the United Black Contractors, because she wants to bring that type of vision.
Yeah, it's how we met.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I met you. You were being honored by them for the Man of the Year. So congratulations again.
Thank you.
Tell me, when someone on the outside hears your story you just gave, and I know it's just a quick summary, they almost say, "Oh, he didn't have any of the challenges I had." Share a little bit about the challenges, because we know they're there.
Yeah, inherently, the construction space has a tremendous barrier to entry, right? So you can do, $500,000, 300,000 and $1 million. Relatively, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it doesn't require a lot of bonding. It doesn't require a lot of a strong balance sheet or, insurance requirements and things like that. Once you started to scale a business and you don't have daddy to call, mommy to call and say, "Hey, I need another $1 million. I ran out of money."
Cash flow,
right? People, hiring people, paying people, managing the overall risk of the space. Because one bad job could cost you millions, right?
Absolutely.
And you could be out of business. So there's inherently the risk of the business. Banks, it's interesting when you go into the bank and they ask you to, what industry are you in? And you say, "I'm in construction." "Oh, that's one of the riskiest businesses here. We have to really talk about the line of credit and the interest rates a little bit different for that space." So it's the sort of that parameters in the space that you're in already. It's kind of like, well, it's people know it's risky. So you have to be very cautious and grow with strategic planning. You got to forecast a lot, right? Because you can't have too many people on a job site on a project that are eating away your profit and your margins, right?
No scope creep. Can't let that come in there.
Safety, right? Just so many things about the business. And I think one of the things that I always tell folks is don't focus on being a minority-owned business. Focus on being a really, really good business, a great business that happens to be owned by a woman or a minority.
Love it.
A lot of times we tend to put ourselves in a box. And that's one thing I've never done. Growing up playing sports, when I'm running 100 meters, whether you black, green, and orange, it's just depending on how much I train and how much work. I'm an athlete, how much work I put in, and I'm gonna beat you in that 100 meters. Business is the same way. Put the work in, put the time in, and grow your business. And inherently, there's barriers that exist in society. We know that. But I think sometimes focusing too much on that hinders you. You're hindering yourself, and in turn, you're hindering your business. I think coming to Dallas for us was an opportunity to grow our business nationally. It was a risk. It was a huge capital investment. But once you've done that, now you can grow your business to Houston. Now you can go to Austin and San Antonio. Now you can go to other markets across the country. We're looking expanding to Florida. So sort of the overall growth becomes less of a barrier because you have a plan that you've used to execute it before.
And back to that comment on putting yourself in a box, sometimes society puts us in that box. So you have to prove that. Don't judge me on that. So let's talk about that, because you mentioned both being an athlete as well as having influence by your parents, I would imagine. I read where you worked through high school with your dad. But just give me your journey so people understand. You're from your parents were immigrants. They came over. You came over as a young child. Kind of step us through that, because that's very inspiring for the person that, maybe saying, how did he do this? He must have been, fortunate to have these breaks that I don't.
It's fitting for your show. Why? My why are my parents. And I don't want to get too emotional, but when I think about my dad and my mother and their journey to America, I came here when I was 6 years old. I recently posted on LinkedIn, we just finished the Obama home court, President Obama's project of the Obama Foundation on the south side of Chicago. It's a 60,000 square foot athletic facility.
I saw Michelle talking about it the other day on TV.
So we just completed that, and we did that.
Awesome.
We did that.
I
as
didn't
a
know
prime.
you were doing that.
We did that as a prime. And I wrote a post, and I took a picture of my dad inside the facility Actually, take credit. My sister took the picture and she sent it to me. I want to make sure she watched it. She was like, "Hey, to take the picture." She took the picture and she sent it to me. And I got to tell you, Ed, I got really emotional and I wrote, "That's my why." Here's a guy that drove a taxi in Chicago for over 25 years to put food on the table for my mom and my sister and I. And then my mother was a CNA making less than $8 an hour in healthcare. And the same areas of that city that my father picked up and dropped people off is now where his son is building some of the most monumental projects and projects that are now part of the Michelle and President Obama's legacy, projects at the airport, building first African-American owned contractor to build a project as a prime at O'Hare Airport in Chicago. These are areas that my dad dropped off people.
Love it.
And my dad would always tell me story of the discrimination and the hate and the racism that he would face with people that he would pick up in the car. And he would tell me this, I was 12, 13, 14 years old. At the time, it was like just kind of hearing my dad complain or overhearing a conversation with my mother or his brother. But they became a part of who I was. And as now that I'm getting older, I connect to it in a way that I hope that my children connect to it as well. And I'm sharing with them their grandfather's journey. He came to this country with a soccer ball and one bag.
Wow.
And my dad always said, he may not have millions of dollars. He may never be known. This is growing up, but he said one thing that he was going to focus on is making sure that his kids had the opportunity to be successful. So that's my why. And I ask my dad as he gets older now, I ride in the car with him, and I tell people as your parents, ride in the car with your parents, go for long drives, pick their brains, and ask them, why are you proud of me? And I asked my dad that question recently. And he said to me, I am proud of you because you're carrying this last name forward like the way that his father did and he did. But more importantly, how I continue to stay humble and have humility in everything that I do. And that's something that my father reminds me of all the time, right? And it's something that guides me in everything that I do, because as we continue to grow, right? The old saying, it's get the elevator goes up, send it back down and bring some other folks with you. So,
no, that's a great story. And if you think about that, your dad did that day in and day out. No matter what he was faced with, he got dressed every morning and showed up.
Rain, sleet, or snow.
And I'm sure you saw that. And that's important today. So I get your father and your parents. Amazing story there. Talk to me about sports, because there's a lot of kids today think that if I don't make it in sports, I don't have a chance. So tell me how you went from athlete and a well-known athlete to, running your own business.
No, that's a great question. And when it's funny, when I look at resumes now and I'm doing interviews, I'm always trying to figure out, I want that athlete. I don't discriminate against others, but I want that athlete, or someone was in the military. Because being an athlete, there's a different switch that we have. I don't care if you played in high school.
You want to compete.
You want to compete. You want to win. You get up every day to win. And starting off in middle school and high school and running track, I was in high school, I was ranked third in the nation in the long and triple jump coming out of high school at 17, 18 years old.
Wow.
Recruited by just about every major university in the country. I decided to go to The Ohio State University on a full track scholarship. And when you get to Ohio State, and here you are, 18, 19-year-old freshman, you're ranked third in the nation. You're like, man, I'm the guy, man. You're the guy in high school. You get
now you're with other athletes.
Now you're with everyone on the team is top 10 in the nation, right? Coming from Illinois, you're like, oh, I'm the guy. You get there, and the first day of practice, First week of practice, I'm thinking I'm going to jump in with the top guys, juniors and seniors. I can beat these guys. Well, I found myself in a corner throwing up after practice, and the training folks were making sure that I didn't have to take me to the hospital. And that taught me a lot, right? And Andrew Pierce was an Olympic 400-meter runner, qualified for the Olympics, and I was practicing with him as a freshman. And what that taught me was take your time.
Right.
The journey to being number one isn't overnight.
Right.
The journey to winning Big Tens, the journeys to winning nationals and going to the Olympics, it takes time, it takes preparations, it takes a dedication, it takes discipline.
And put in the work.
You got to put in the work.
Yep.
You got to put in the work. And I saw that at an early age, and ended up, I became a Big Ten champion, became an All-American. I qualified for the Olympics, hit the B standard for the Olympics as well. And you have that wiring that gives you a path. To get to that victory, you got to take that journey.
Right.
There's no shortcuts.
Right.
And sports teaches you that.
Absolutely.
You know, it teaches you that. And I mean, just recently, the Chicago Bears, they're down 21-3 in the first half.
Right. Exactly.
I'm turning it off. I don't want to play this. What's going on in here?
One of the greatest games.
One of the greatest games. And they come back and they win. And that's life. You know, sometimes when you're down, sometimes when the environment tells you can't do something because of the color of your skin, because you're a woman, because whatever it might be, whatever your environment that you might be in, whatever limitations others try to put on you, don't let that happen. Focus on you.
Believe in yourself.
Believe in yourself. Believe in your goals. Because you set those goals. I've never seen anybody go, hey, Ed, set a goal for me.
Right. Tell me what I should do.
Tell me what I should do.
Exactly.
What's my 2026 outlook?
Right.
Tell me my vision. You determine your outlook. You determine your vision. And with that, you put in the work to do that.
Absolutely. That's amazing. So I read you and your wife back to this elevator going down and bringing others up. You're involved in community activity and mentorship. I think with the Chicago
Park District and other local
So talk to me about that. And what I would like you to share is a story, because we all do this community give back and how we get involved with the community because it's rewarding. Right? So tell me a story that it just hit you where you said, I got it. Because the reason why I'm sharing this, as I started participating on boards for the youth, underserved kids at risk, you're like, it's overwhelming. How can I help all of these kids? And you kind of get down on yourself like, but it's not until that one kid comes up to you and says, you've changed my life. So share your involvement in what you're doing in the track and field. And, that rewarding story.
So my wife and I, it started off as a company. BOWA Gives started off as a company thing, right? Sort of outreach and events and doing things in the community. My wife and I, and credit to her, she's the executive director and she runs it. We started looking at ourselves, right? Because I think sometimes the best way to help others is to look at your own journey, right? I think sometimes we spend a lot of resources in figuring out how we can help someone. But if you just kind of sit back and just look at your journey, look at your life, and it was sports. It was track and field. So my wife and I met at Ohio State. She was also on the track team.
Okay.
She was a 400-meter runner.
Got it.
So, my kids run track and my sister ran track, and we were just looking at people in our family. Her dad was an Olympian in the 800 meters.
Oh, wow.
So we're like, well, it's track and field, it's sports. How do we connect sports to architecture, engineering, and construction? So BOWA Gives was formed. So now it's grown into a annual summit that we do with girls. And she wanted to focus on girls initially, and it's gonna grow to boys. But initially she wanted to focus on girls because just systemically, we know just girls in sports, it's sort of, whether it's the salaries in the WNBA versus salaries in the NBA, or you can just look at any sport, right? Women are always underpaid, right? And she felt that they're always undervalued. So she wanted to focus on that. So we did. So that's how the start of that. And so then we started having these annual track meets, partnering with Ohio State and some of our partners and coaches and folks that we competed with, and bringing in the head coach from Ohio State University, Rosalind, bringing in Joe Brown, who's the sprint coach there, bringing in former Olympians to the track meet to speak to the youth. You see something, you believe it, oh, I can do that. So connecting them to what they could see themselves doing, getting a scholarship, getting recruited. So one of the stories that, you know, we really admire, and so I find time to train and coach and volunteer with some long jumpers and triple jumpers. And we've literally seen girls get exposure through this program and receive full scholarships. Wow. Full scholarships to go to universities. I've personally made phone calls to coaches, or I've sent videos or footage to head coaches and say, you might want to take a look at this athlete. This is, you know, I'm at a local track meet, and there's a young lady that her dad texts me often, and she's at Whitney Young, and she wanted to go to Ohio State, wanted to go to U of I and go to university. And so she's still making her decision, but I share that information directly through the BOWA Gives Foundation to the coaches that we have access and relationships with, because it's about relationships. It's about a pool of network of people. And sometimes folks in our community don't get that exposure. So we're giving them that exposure. And also go to the point where, you know, having the right shoes to run in. Yeah. Like, some of these, it just breaks my heart sometimes when you see these kids. I mean, Ed, they are fast. They are talented. Right. But they're running in basketball shoes. Right. Shoes that weigh, they weren't like 10 pounds.
Whatever they have, It's
what they have.
Yep.
And so it's bringing them, it's getting, we got Dick Pond Athletics. We provide shoes, we provide shirts, there's jerseys, there's uniforms, you know, and that's something that it becomes theirs. Yeah. And it lets them know they are valued.
Absolutely.
Because when our youth knows that we care about them, these kids start caring, they perform, and they start caring about themselves.
Absolutely. It's that hope, right?
It's that hope.
And you're bringing that to them.
And that's that hope. And President Obama and Michelle Obama, putting that facility on the south side of Chicago, talking about hope. Yeah. That's hope.
They see it every day. They walk out and see it.
That's hope. Yeah. If you don't have hope and a little bit of love, you're lost. And that's why we see the kids in our community that are struggling, that are going towards gangs or going towards violence, right? It's because they don't have hope. Right. They don't have love. They don't have access. They don't have the opportunity. And that's what we have an obligation. Absolutely. To give back and do that.
Totally agree. Yeah. And I commend you for everything you're doing, you and your wife. Yeah. We're running out of time, but I just wanted to have a few more questions. One is, what's next for BOWA and Nosa? What do you see? Is there an extra chapter that we could look forward to? You must have a vision going forward.
You know, my wife and my family members, they always say, what crazy ideas he gonna come up with next? Where's he going next? Right. You know, we want to continue scaling the business in a way that we can compete with anyone across the nation.
Love it.
In order to do that, we need very, very highly talented people. We're very fortunate with the people that we have. And we said earlier, people make the organization.
Absolutely.
And it takes time to find and identify talented people that believe in the mission. If you look at the top 25 national contractors, construction managers in the nation, you'll go from 20 billion, 15 billion, 10 billion, all the way turn, all those companies at the top. There is not one African-American owned firm on that list, right? And we need to be able to scale and break into that list. So when I get up every morning, my focus is to continue growing this business. And what I've identified is in order for us to grow and scale, we have to grow nationally. Because unfortunately, you don't want, there's always an invisible ceiling at times, right? And you're in a business, and when you lay out your strategic plan, there's always that section. All right, our core competency. How do we improve in these areas, right? And for us is construction management, general contracting, areas where we can self-perform, identifying key leaders in market sectors to drive the business in different cities across the nation.
Got it.
So as we're expanding to Florida right now, looking at opportunities there, and then growing that bonding capacity, right? So right now, we have $500 million of bonding. Our singles, 200 to 250 million. And over the last decade, I focused on that. Because whenever you get to the table, you don't want to get the answer no.
Right.
And my path in business is, how do I get to yes?
Got it.
It's always, how do I get to yes?
Absolutely.
And so you look at the landscape and you sit back and you watch these people no, you can't do that. That's not going to work. Then you align yourselves with good partners and good people that believe in that same mission. And it's like a flood, right? When the foundation is leaking, it starts with a little crack, right? And the water seeps through.
Just bust through.
And you just eventually bust through and it's just a flood. Yeah. So that flood is all of us going together.
I got it. I love that. So in closing, I'm going to give you a chance to, as the audience is looking at you, and we're in interesting times, you have to admit it, but there's some young man or young woman who's looking and saying, what do I do? Back to your comment on hope. What would you want to leave with the audience or even some of the agencies that you're doing business with? Because it is a lot more challenging than it used to be, just because of political reasons today. But to your point, it all can be overcome. Your dad showed up every day and was successful, and look what he was able to produce in you. So just in your closing comments, what would you advise others?
The world that we're in right now, there's a lot. There's a lot going on. It's sometimes it could be overwhelming. I would tell someone, focus on what you do great. Focus on what you do well, right? Because a lot of times you could spend all day focusing on the negative. Mm-hmm. And those things that are negative that you're focusing on, you can't control it anyway. Right. If you're a business owner, what's your core competency? What's your niche?
Right.
What areas do you excel at? Feed into that. The other thing that I would say is build your balance sheet. Mm-hmm. Build the strength and the financial wherewithal of your organization. Because the times that we're in right now, it's about who can perform.
Right.
Perform, execute, win, get the work done. Get that first job and focus all of your attention on that job. All the resources. Don't go spend $100,000 and buy a Mercedes.
Right.
Invest in your business.
Right.
Put the money back into your business. And then one of the other things is there's people out here that will fight for you. Let those people fight for you.
Right.
You run your business.
Absolutely.
And especially in the space that we're in, one of the things I always tell small business owners, they ask me, they say, man, I get down. There's just no way in. There's always no. There's always this. There's the bonding. There's this. And I said, There's a yes. If you got to go through that back door,
right.
Go through that back door. If you got to go through the side door, go through this. If you got to wait till everybody go home and then go in,
you could get in.
You can get in. And that analogy is, don't give up.
Right.
Because we know the environment.
Right.
We know what's going on, right? But they got to build.
Right.
You know, and there's access to those relationships. And for the agencies, you know, the stakeholders and agencies that we do business with, and, you know, a lot of us do business with, is I continue to applaud their focus on creating access.
Absolutely.
And opportunity. And there's a lot of us and a lot of people that are in leadership positions that do care
Absolutely.
about having projects and opportunities reflect the dynamism of our entire society.
Absolutely. It's economic development.
It's economic development.
Hey, Nosa, I have to cut it off, but this has been great.
Thank you.
I enjoyed the conversation. Thanks for coming on the show. We'll have to do it again.
Yeah.
Because you have so much in your background that we could probably do a couple more shows. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time today. I hope this show was informative for you. And until next time, be blessed.